So let's talk about a pattern. It's this quiet trap that so many smart people, high earners, professionals, creators, find themselves in. It's this hidden force that explains why earning a lot more money doesn't automatically mean you own a lot more. And just so we're clear, this isn't about tips or tricks. We're here to look at the underlying physics of how this stuff actually works. And that brings us to the central paradox, right? We have more information, more tools, more opportunities than ever before. So why do so many people who are working hard and earning really well still feel like they're just stuck on a treadmill, feeling like they're just one bad month away from real anxiety? Well, the answer is probably not what you think.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we need to start with the one core signal that pretty much explains everything else. It's a really simple truth, but it often gets drowned out by all the noise. So let's just isolate it and take a clear look.
You know, we're all kind of obsessed with the top line number, our income, how much you make. It's the big, shiny object. But the real engine of financial security, it's not the size of the money coming in. It's the size of what's left over. The only number that truly, truly matters is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. And that gap, we call that the survival gap. You can think of it as the raw material for building wealth. It's the only place it can come from. It's the only surplus that can be put to work for you. See, without this gap, it doesn't matter how high your income is. It can never be turned into real, lasting ownership. It's like this. Think of your income as rain. Now, if the ground is totally paved over with spending, all that water just runs off. It's gone. Wealth is what grows in the soil that's left over. That's the surplus. If that surplus never even survives the month, nothing has a chance to take root. All right, so that's the signal, the survival gap. Now let's look at the pattern. How does this simple idea actually show up in the real world? Because once you see it, you start to see it everywhere, across all kinds of jobs and all kinds of income levels. This chart shows a reality that is just so common. Person A could be a doctor, a successful exec. Their income, their cash flow is massive, but their net worth is just stubbornly low. And why is that? Well, it's because their spending has scaled up right alongside their earnings, keeping that survival gap tiny or even zero. Meanwhile, person B is earning a pretty normal income, but by always consistently maintaining that gap, their net worth just quietly climbs and climbs over time. It's a perfect illustration of a fundamental truth. Your income and your wealth are not the same thing at all. And this pattern just plays out over and over again. You see it with the professional who gets a raise and immediately upgrades their car and their house. You see it with the startup founder who has a big exit but ends up broke. And of course, there's the classic lottery winner who's right back where they started in just a few years. It is the exact same system at work every single time. Rising income just fuels rising consumption, not rising ownership. So the big question is, why does this keep happening? What's the underlying mechanism that's driving this pattern? Well, it all comes down to a really powerful psychological illusion. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, right? Increasing your spending feels great. It really does. The nicer car, the bigger house, the fancier vacations, these things give you immediate, tangible feedback. They tell you a story that you're moving forward, that you're succeeding in life. But behind that feeling of progress, the actual financial structure is often, well, pretty shaky. For a lot of high earners, the vast majority of their money is going toward maintaining a certain lifestyle, a certain appearance, and just a tiny little sliver, if anything at all, is actually being converted into ownership, into assets that work for them. And this, right here, is the crucial contrast. Appearances are visible. They get you likes, they get you social rewards, but they almost always go down in value, and they do it loudly. Assets, on the other hand, are usually invisible. No one sees them. They compound silently in the background, and the reward isn't social. It's internal, and it's delayed. It's security, it's control. And our brains are just not naturally wired to prioritize that second column. And that is the heart of the progress illusion. Running faster on a treadmill feels like you're covering more ground, but your location doesn't actually change. In the exact same way, increasing your spending feels like financial progress, but often it's just motion that keeps you in the exact same spot of financial fragility. So what's the actual long-term cost of being stuck in this system? It's not just about ending up with less money in the bank. No, it's about something way more valuable than that. Over a long enough timeline, the paths diverge dramatically. The person who maintains that survival gap is steadily gaining optionality.
And that's the real prize. The freedom to choose your work, the power to walk away from a bad situation, the ability to handle a crisis without panic. But the person on the fragility treadmill, their optionality stays flat, or it might even go down, because their expensive lifestyle has basically become a golden cage. And it's so important to get this. This is not a failure of intelligence. It's not about being bad with money. It's a systemic problem. It's about people responding perfectly to the short-term incentives that society throws at us, social status, instant gratification, while being totally unaware of the long-term behavior loops they're getting caught in. Okay, so let's flip this around. What's the counter pattern? What's the operating system of those people who quietly build that durable security? It's not about finding some magic investment. It's about following a totally different sequence of operations. When you observe them, you see this sequence. First, they prioritized creating that surplus, that survival gap, above everything else. Second, they have a deliberate system for converting that surplus into productive assets. Third, and this is crucial, they give those assets the one thing they need to really work: time. Time to compound. And finally, they harvest the result. And the result isn't just more money. It's that all-important optionality. It's a simple, logical process that just happens to run completely counter to our natural impulses.
Now, the point of this explainer isn't to give you advice. It's just to reveal these patterns. So to wrap things up, we're just going to leave you with 3 questions to reflect on your own financial system. First question, where is your money actually going? Not where you think it goes or where the budget says it goes, but where does it truly end up month after month?
Second, what parts of your spending feel really good, feel like progress, but are actually costing you that long-term optionality? What feels like movement, but is really just motion? And finally, maybe the most important question of all, what do you own that pays you? How much of your world is made up of things that consume your money versus things that actually generate more of it for you? The answer to that question? Well, it reveals just about everything.